All right, get ready, because Microsoft is about to completely change the way you use Office. Its AI Copilot is evolving from a simple little assistant into a true agent. And that means your workflow might be about to get a brand new AI coworker. Let's dive in and see what that actually means for you.
So, to get what's happening here, you've got to understand this new term Microsoft is throwing around, vibe working. Sounds a little weird, right? But the idea is actually pretty straightforward. You just give the AI the general idea, the vibe, and it does all the heavy lifting to create, say, a complex financial model in Excel or an entire presentation.
So what this really means is we're moving way beyond just giving simple, one-off commands. Copilot is becoming what they call an agentic partner. It can now plan, execute, and even make changes to complex jobs with multiple steps. It's less like a tool and more like, well, like an actual collaborator sitting next to you.
Okay, so how are they making this vibe working thing happen? Well, it all comes down to two brand new tools they're rolling out, Agent Mode and Office Agent. These two are at the heart of this whole upgrade.
Now, you might be thinking, two agents? What's the difference? And that's a great question, because while they're both super powerful, they're built for totally different jobs. The easiest way to think about it is this. Are you working inside a file that's already open, or are you trying to create something brand new from scratch?
Yeah, check this out. Agent Mode, think of that as the expert sitting right there with you, looking over your shoulder while you've got Word or Excel open. It follows your plan step by step. But Office Agent? That's more like your new junior consultant. You kick things off with a chat, it runs off to do its research, and then it comes back and hands you a fully drafted document or a PowerPoint deck. Totally different workflows. Okay, so what makes Agent Mode such a big deal is how transparent it is. This is huge. It takes your big request, breaks it down into a clear plan, and then does the work right there in your file. But, and this is the key part, it shows you every single step for you to review. You can steer it, you can edit what it's doing, you can even pull the plug on the whole plan if you want. For any kind of business work, that level of control and auditability is an absolute game changer.
Office Agent, on the other hand, works in a totally different way. It starts out like any good consultant would, by asking you questions to make sure it really gets what you're trying to do. Then it actually goes out and does web research for you, and finally, it whips up a polished first draft. Microsoft's own goal here is to give you what they call first-year consultant level work, but in minutes, not days. Pretty ambitious, right?
All right, so this is where it gets really interesting from a tech perspective, kind of looking under the hood. What's powering all this isn't just one single AI. Nope, Microsoft is playing it smart. They're actually using different AI models from different companies, picking the absolute best tool for each specific job.
So here's the breakdown. For that really complex, in-the-weeds work inside an app, that's Agent Mode. They're using OpenAI's GPT models. Makes sense, they need that deep control. But for the big picture, research and create stuff that Office Agent does, they're turning to Anthropic's Claude family. It's all about using the right tool for the right job, and honestly, it's a really clever strategy.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds amazing, almost too good to be true. So let's get a reality check. With all this new power, just how accurate is it? I mean, how does it really stack up against a human expert?
Well, the numbers tell a pretty clear story. So there's this benchmark called Spreadsheet Bench. It's designed to test really complex tasks in spreadsheets. On that test, Agent Mode scores a 57.2% accuracy. Now that's actually pretty impressive, but a human expert, they score 71.3%.
57.2%. Let that sink in for a second. That number really tells you everything you need to know about where we are right now. It's super useful for sure, but it's not perfect. Not by a long shot.
So what does that gap actually mean for you day to day? Well, it means you can think of this as a massive accelerator, a way to get your first draft done way faster. But it's not a replacement. And for anything that's high stakes, we're talking financial reports, legal documents, human review is not just a good idea, it's absolutely essential. You are still the final checkpoint. Okay, so knowing all that, the promise and the current limitations, how should we actually approach this new world of vibe working? Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the practical stuff you need to know before you dive in.
Right. There are a few really big risks you've got to keep in mind. We've talked about the accuracy gap and the risk of hallucinations, but I really want to call out that third point, because it's a big one for IT departments. When Office Agent uses Anthropic's Claude model, your data might be getting sent outside of Microsoft's Azure cloud.
For a ton of companies, that's a huge red flag for compliance and data residency. It's something you have to figure out before you flip the switch.
You know, this quote really just nails it. The future of work here is collaborative and agentic, not hands-off. And for now, the human, that's you, remains the final arbiter. Your job isn't going away, it's just changing. So if you're in an organization that's thinking about rolling this out, please take a slow and steady approach. This checklist is a fantastic starting point. You've got to pilot this carefully. Start small. Lock down your governance, especially around those third-party models. Train your people, and not just on how to write prompts, but on how to check the work. And finally, make it a rule. A human has to sign off on anything important.
So let's wrap this up by bringing it all back to you. What does all this mean for your job? Well, the nature of your work is about to shift big time. You're going to spend less time on the manual, grunt work of creating things from scratch and more time acting as a skilled director, a supervisor, and a critical validator of what the AI is producing.
And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? When you think about everything we've talked about, the power, the collaboration, but also that constant need for your supervision, are these new AI agents really your next coworker? Or are they just a ridiculously smart assistant? I think how you answer that is going to define the next chapter of your career.